Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon the master of martyrs and peace be upon you adorers. Welcome to Shia Waves. I'm your anchor Ali Jassim, here to present and replenish your minds with the latest Shia world news. And now with the headlines. Educational programs for displaced families prepared by the School of Imam Hussein. Shiite Rights Watch marks the annual anniversary of the tragic demolishing of Jannat al-Baqi'. Indonesian Muslims condemn ISIL ideology. The School of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, has prepared educational programs for the displaced people in cooperation with the Unit of Religious Preaching of Imam Hussein Holy Shrine. The program aimed to educate the people about the general religious rules, including salat, hijab, fasting, and other issues, focusing on the youth group as they are the futuristic class of society that will build and defend the country. The school will provide transportation faculties for the displaced people to be able to have the lessons inside the holy courtyard of Imam Hussein Holy Shrine, peace be upon him, or in their residential areas in specific mosques. Shiite Rights Watch organization has marked the annual anniversary of the tragic demolishing of Jannat al-Baqi' in Hijaz on the ends of Al Saud. Shiite Rights Watch asserted that the international silence toward the demolishing of Jannat al-Baqi' by extremist groups in the 70s of last century has encouraged present extremist groups represented by the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and Levant, the ISIL, to demolish pious shrines of prophets, including Jonah and Seth, peace be upon them, and other shrines belonging to other religions. The Wahhabi extremists committed the most horrific crimes through demolishing these treasures in Hijaz. Jannat al-Baqi' is a graveyard situated in the city of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his progeny, where 4 of our infallible Imams are buried: Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Imam Ali al-Sajjad, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, peace be upon them. Some Shiite families from Sinjar district escaped from the ISIL terrorists to be besieged in Jabal area. According to reports, the Shiite families are besieged in Jabal area without shelters, water, and food, where they urge the government to help them. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the OCHA, reports suggest some 35 to 50,000 people displaced in 9 locations are currently surrounded by ISIL members. The OCHA added that the children are also dying from lack of water and other assistance among those trapped, as there is an immediate need for water, food, fuel, shelter, and health services. Earlier reports by the United Nations indicated that 200,000 people were forced to escape Sinjar, a town with an estimated population of 310,000. Iraqi Air Force bombed an ISIL convoy consisting of 54 armed vehicles fleeing towards Syria and the border city of Qa'im. An official in the Air Force said in a press statement that the air bombardment targeted 54 vehicles carrying heavy weapons which were heading to Syria through the city of Qa'im, pointing out that last week witnessed the escape of a large number of terrorists from Iraq to neighboring countries, including Jordan, Syria, and Turkey. Prisoner of conscience Ali Talib has not been allowed to communicate with his family since 10 days. The family's concern is growing and they have not been allowed to visit him in the Jal prison. The 36 years old is serving sentences with 7 cases, adding up to 50 years in prison. Hundreds of Bahrainis are detained in connection with this oppressive crackdown on the pro-democracy uprising that erupted in 2011. Shiite Muslims in Parachinar, Pakistan marched to the office of political agent from Eidgah. The protesters were chanting slogans against the biased political agent Riaz Mahsood, demanding his immediate transfer. According to reports, security officials opened aerial firing and also targeted protesters by tear gas shelling. Then, protesters went to Shahid Park and began staging a sit-in there. Shiite Muslims of Parachinar want the release of all Shiites who had been behind the bars since 17th of Rabi' al-Awwal. A group of Indonesian Muslims and scholars have voiced condemnations for the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and Levant, the ISIL, also known as ISIS, with some urging the government to take firmer action against the possible spread of the movement in Indonesia. The former chairman of NU, Indonesia's largest Muslim organization, called on Indonesian Muslims to adopt the more Islamic and typically Indonesian strategy rather than claiming to be the most Islamic. The Islamic Student Union, HMI, has also condemned Indonesian Muslims condoning and adhering to the ISIL's ideology. We have reached the end of our new show. Thank you all for joining in with us, and as always, remember our dua to hasten the reappearance of our beloved Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.